Hey guys, tonight we step into a field of dusk, where lanterns glow like sleepy stars and kettles puff gentle clouds that smell like courage and onions. You feel the ground hum under your boots. Fires crackle in neat rows. Tin cups clink. A ladle rises, drips, and you watch that drop fall as if time slows down just for soup. It feels cozy and a little wild. You want to sit and taste it all. Quick reality check though, you probably won't survive this in real life. The smoke, the cold, the marches, the lice. Yeah, not a weekend getaway. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And drop your location and local time in the comments. I love seeing where you're listening from. Now dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You arrive at a French bivouac just as the sky turns velvet. The fires sit in tidy patches. The smoke goes up in slow ribbons. You step through lines of stacked muskets. You pass a row of battered kettles. Every pot sighs a low, steady simmer. It smells like beef bones, cabbage, and a little wood smoke. It smells like home, even if home has mud and marching boots. You feel the warmth on your face. Your eyes sting a bit. A spoon taps a rim. Ding ding, as a cook checks if the soup settled. The men talk in murmurs. Someone laughs at a joke that is older than the road. You hold your breath when the steam lifts. You can almost taste the salt in the air. You move to the edge of one fire. A company cook watches you. He nods. He has sleeves rolled high. His hands look like they have been in heat and water all day. He stirs with a long ladle. The pot is a marmite, black and rounded, the heart of the meal. That is not just a cute name. It is a real army friend. The Grande Army often sleeps like this, outside under the sky, with little more than cloaks and fire. That open camp has a name too. Bivouac, a common sight when speed beats tents. Your spoon hangs from your belt on a cord because you learn fast. Lose the spoon, lose your place at the fire. You don't want that. There is order here. There is quiet pride. You see men from the same mess, an escouade, about 10 strong, share the pot. That is standard. The routine is tight. Fire first, pot on, bread ready, then ladle into bowls in a set line. No crowding, no shoving. Your spoon waits like a tiny sword. Your stomach signs a peace treaty with your nose. You listen to the kettle sing. The song is soft and even. It says, "Dinner is near, friend." You stand a little closer. You warm your palms. You try a joke in your head. Soup is a hot salad. No one hears it. That is okay. The night is generous. It lets small jokes float away. The cook drops a crust of bread to test the salt. He nods. He adds a splash from a small cask. Maybe wine, maybe water. You see a twist of herbs. Thyme, perhaps. Or just a brave weed that smells like thyme. It does not matter. The steam says yes. The men relax. Shoulders drop. Boots inch toward heat like cats pretending not to. An army marches on its stomach, someone says. You hear it. You feel it. Historians still argue whether Napoleon said that line or if it got pinned to his coat after the fact. You don't argue. You breathe in the proof. The soup is the true drumbeat here. A soldier with a bad hat grins at you. His spoon is tied through his top buttonhole like a strange medal. You blink. He winks. It looks silly and perfect. A little fringe habit, he says, keeps it from falling in the mud. Stories say some companies make a game of how fast you can draw your spoon. You believe him. Tonight, it feels epic. Heroic spoon discipline. It even sounds like a virtue your grandma would respect. A stray dog circles the edge of the fire. It sits with saintly patience. The cook pretends not to see. He definitely sees. You feel the slip of night air slide down your neck. You are glad for the heat. You are so happy with the smell. You are so excited for this simple thing that fixes so many hard edges. You move along the line. You see a lantern set low by a pot. It turns steam to gold. It makes the soup look like treasure. You rest your hand on the rim, careful, not too long. Warmth travels up your sleeve. Your eyes drift to the bread, stacked in rough halves. Pain diminution, thick, hard by day, softened by broth at night. You smile at that trick. Bread is the shield. Soup is the sword. Your spoon is the hero that keeps the peace. One sip at a time. Someone hums a tune. The hum slides into the kettle's breath. You try not to sway. It is late. It is safe here. A little sarcasm floats in your head. War is loud by day and polite by dinner. Who planned that schedule? The cook flips a ladle. A drop lands on his thumb. He does not flinch. He nods again, like the soup passed an exam and can go to college now. A quartermaster walks by. He checks the fires. He nods to the cook. He notes the stacks of wood. He keeps the routine running. You can tell he has counted spoons once or twice. He has that stare. The dog sneezes. Someone snorts. You laugh once. It slides out before you can catch it. The cook grins. He says something you don't see, but the tone is kind. The night folds in tighter. The stars appear, one by one, like nails in a beam, holding the sky up for one more hour. You take a step back and watch the whole camp. Lines of small flames. A low sea of talk. The kettles breathe and breathe. You hear a scrape of tin. A ladle whispers against iron. You hear the crack of a twig. Every sound is soft on purpose. The day has been loud enough. This is the part where silence fixes things. You think of your spoon again. You feel that cord against your thumb. It is small. It is silly. It is a rule that saves time, tempers, and soup. It is a promise that the pot will feed all of you. It is a line you do not cross. You shift your weight. Your boots press into damp soil. The smell of onions grows sweeter as they melt in the pot. You close your eyes. One breath. Two. You know the first bowl is close. You are ready. You are steady. The night leans in, the fires answer, and the kettles keep their slow, patient song. You trudge. The road is rutted and brown. Your pack thumps your spine. Your spoon taps your chest with each step. It keeps time like a tiny drummer with good manners. The dog from the last fire trots near your heel. You don't look down. You smile in your scarf. Breath curls like the steam we just left. Lanterns bob. A drummer yawns. Tin canteens clack and sing a thin, happy clink. The order come. Halt. Packs down. Your escouade moves as one. You drop the marmite with care. Two of you carried it by a pole on the march. Your hands still buzz. It feels like you have held a bell all day. The wood party steps off. You are on it. Of course you are. You leave the fire circle and step into the brush. Twigs snap. The sky is a deep bowl. Your boots sink a little. You pick up fallen limbs and dry sticks. You tug a dead branch free and feel like a hero for 5 whole seconds. Then it breaks in the wrong spot and whacks you in the shin. You nod, very wise. The forest nods back. You are fine. A friend points at a stack of fence rails. No, not those. Farmers need them. You stick to deadfall. You haul a bundle under your arm. Another man comes grinning with a log that is far too proud of itself. Congratulations, you are now the owner of 2 sticks and a blister. What a day. You both laugh. You call the smoke camp perfume. It will cling to your coat and then your dreams. The best kind of cologne. The dog finds a pine cone and pretends it is treasure. Back at the circle, 3 muskets lie on the ground. Hands move quickly. You and 2 mates lock them into a tripod. It is a neat trick. Butt to butt. Slings twist around. Barrels lean in. The triangle holds like a little tent of iron. The kettle will hang from the hook. This is normal. The habit feels older than you. You check the pans. No powder. Flints safe. Fire and muskets do not mix, unless you enjoy chaos. You do not enjoy chaos. You enjoy soup. A spark comes next. You pop a tinderbox lid. Some men use the musket lock for sparks. You use steel and flint. You strike. Sparks hop like tiny bees. A scrap of charred linen waits. It takes the ember and glows. You cup it in your hands and blow. Smoke threads out. You tuck it deep into dry grass and slivers. It breathes, then bites. Flame. The circle sighs, almost in unison. You set the small kindling. You feed it bigger sticks. Heat builds. Orange licks black iron. Wood cracks. A new sound joins the road. Fire has its own voice, and it is always calm if you listen right. You fetch water next. There is a ditch nearby. The surface is brown tea. You scoop, hold, and let the grit settle. You pour slowly into the pot. You know the rule. Boil it hard. Make it safe. Your arm lifts the marmite onto the tripod. It hangs there like a moon. A soldier drops a pebble to test when the boil starts. It will rattle later. That's a quirky camp habit, not a law, but it makes everyone grin. Another man adds a fist of twigs to the flames. Sparks jump and vanish. Your eyes sting. Your coat drinks the smell. A slice of salt pork appears. A cube of beef. A handful of split peas. Bread ends are too hard to chew by themselves. They all slip into the water. A friend throws in a pinch of something green he found by the hedge. Maybe wild thyme. Maybe brave weed number 2. You nod at the daring. The pot does not complain. It only lifts a soft skin of foam. You skim that with a tin spoon. Your spoon stays on its cord. Serving has rules here. No double dipping. No early tasting. Your spoon is a heroic tool, and like all heroes, it waits for the cue. The camp settles into a low hum. Tin mugs click. Pack buckles jingle. Someone cracks a joke about the last march. You say you walked so far your shadow fell behind. 3 men snort. One man says his shadow asked for brandy. You grin. The dog sneezes in agreement. The jokes come easy when the heat returns to your fingers. You cradle a cup and let the warmth run into your knuckles. Your shoulders drop 1 notch. Your jaw drops another. A hard fact stands behind the cozy glow. French troops often march 15 to 20 miles in a day. Some days less, some days more. Roads and mud make the rules. Your feet know the numbers better than paper does. Historians still argue whether the Grande Army really managed 20 miles most days or whether that is rosy math. You look at your ankles and quietly vote for the mud. But you boil water now, and that fixes the rest of the math. A fourier passes. He counts wood piles. He points to the next squad. He wants the line of fire neat and safe. That is his job. He keeps order where soup lives. Company tools flash in the light. There is an axe, a saw, a water bucket. These are small kings in a camp like this. Official lists say each unit must have them. You feel the good weight of routine. Men have done this exact dance every night across half of Europe. It always starts with fire, then water, then the first soft bubble. The pot wakes with tiny fisheye blips. You lean close. The skin of the soup tightens, then loosens. Steam climbs. It smells like salt and hope. You drop a bay leaf from a pouch. You kept it safe all week, wrapped in paper from a cartridge. That is another quiet trick. Paper is also good tinder when the rain tries to kill the fire. You keep a few dry sheets wrapped in waxed cloth. You are not fancy. You are just careful. A mate opens his pocket and shows a little brown slab. Portable soup, he whispers, proud. A gift from home. He shaves a curl into the pot. It melts and vanishes. The broth grins wider. Not everyone has that. Officers like it more. But tonight, your mess is lucky. It is a soft secret, shared under stars. Your spoon taps your chest again. It is happy for you. You glance at the muskets. The tripod stands steady. Bayonets stay sheathed. The butts anchor the leg. Soot climbs the barrels like shadow bark. You will wipe them clean later, once the pot is off. You brush a coal aside with a stick carefully. You open your palm to the fire and let it fill you. The simmer grows. The little pebble begins to chitter. The camp laughs. It is such a silly sound, like a beetle with good news. You hear tin clinking and gentle ribbing. Someone says, "If the soup is thin, we call it tea." You answer, "And if it is thick, we call it victory." That earns a cheer. It is not a good joke, but it is warm, and that is enough. A man from another mess asks for a burn from your fire. You nod. He sticks a twig in your coals and walks away with a small, proud flame. It is nice to share fire. It is like sharing time. You skim the top once more. The bubbles grow. They kiss the rims with tiny pops. The first simmer is here. It is not a boil yet, just that steady, quiet breath. You know this sound now. It means the hard part is done. No more wet wood, no more chasing sparks. The pot will take care of itself for a while. It will make the water right. It will soften the peas and the pork. It will turn bread into silk. All around you, other tripods rise. Kettles hang like black fruit. The camp glows in spots. The night leans in. You think of the rule you love. Fire first, water next, then the simmer, then the spoon. Your mind rests on those steps. They feel safe. They are simple, and they work. You listen to the kettle talk. It speaks in soft taps and little sighs. It is the language of relief. You add one more stick to the fire. You settle on your heels. You roll your shoulders. The dog curls near your boot. Your spoon lies warm against your chest. Tin clicks mix with quiet laughs. The pot hums. The first simmer holds. You do not rush it. You let it be. The night accepts the trade. It takes your smoke, and in return, it gives you soup, a circle of friends, and a few good jokes to save for tomorrow's road. You edge closer to the pot. The marmite hangs steady. It is round and black. The iron looks old and sure. The handle creaks when the wind shifts. Heat licks the belly. Fat beads rise and wink. You see the skin of the broth tremble. That is your cue. The pot is the boss. Not you. not rank, not the road. The pot says when things happen. You learn this fast or go hungry. You lift the lid a finger's width. Steam strokes your face. Onion, beef, damp wood. A hint of time. The scent is thick and kind. The lid goes back on. You do not waste heat. That is rule 1. Fire is coin. Spend slowly. The ladle waits on a cloth. Long handle. Tin bowl. Edges worn thin by years of soup. A dent near the lip tells a little story. Someone dropped it. Someone swore. It still works. Tools in camp do not retire for drama. They work until they are ghosts. You place the ladle across the lid, never in the dirt. That is rule 2. Clean ladle, clean soup, clean you. A man clears his throat. He is tonight's cook. He is not the same every night. Sometimes it is you. Sometimes it is him. Historians still argue whether some units had a designated cook or if the job rotated strictly by day. You do not argue right now. You listen. He speaks softly. No early dipping. No finger tests. 2 ladles each. Meat gets drawn fair. You nod. Everyone nods. These are the camp laws. They sit deeper than a leaflet. The cook grips the ladle and stirs. Slow, steady, figure 8s. He scrapes the bottom with care. He lifts and checks the sheen. He listens more than he looks. If the bottom sticks, he knows by the sound. The scrape grows harsh like a whisper turning to a rasp. He moves the pot a thumb's width from the hottest coals. That is rule 3. Simmer, not fury. A boil eats wood. A simmer feeds men. You watch the ring around the pot. That is the quiet border. No boots over that line unless you are invited. 1 person guards. He is calm. He keeps the dog back with a nudge. He shields the pot from elbows, jokes, and wandering spoons. He holds a small stick to push coals. He glances at the muskets and the road and the dark. He is not dramatic. He is a door hinge. Things swing right because he is there. Behind him stands the mess. You and your mates. 8 to 10 of you. A normal French escouade. That is the real heart of supper. The army is big. The mess is home. 1 man cuts bread. 1 man counts bowls. 1 man keeps the salt and shares it fairly. You tie your spoon cord a little tighter. It taps your chest like it wants to be knighted. A ladle is just a big spoon with delusions of grandeur. You do not say that out loud. You like having eyebrows. The cook retrieves the meat with a ladle and a fork. He lays the chunks on a board. He divides them by eye. Then he goes finer. The trick is simple and old. He cuts equal piles. A man turns his back. Names are called. The blind chooser says who gets which pile. It feels like a game. It is math with meat. It works. No sulking. No fights. Even the dog approves. He tilts his head and hopes for gravity to help. You reach into the pot and rub the rim with a rag. It is slick and black. That black stays. The pot is seasoned like a good pan at home. Some squads never scour it bare. They say the iron remembers flavor. They refer to the dark layer as the varnish. You might call it the bank. Each night you add to it. Each night it pays back. That is a quirky camp truth. Some men even stroke the side and mutter, "Bon marvier, old girl." It is silly and tender. It also works. Stir, scrape, rest. The cook repeats the dance. He lifts the lid to let the foam breathe off. He schemes with a small spoon. He taps the rim twice. That sound means almost ready. You stack bowls in a neat fan. You listen for the pebble we dropped earlier. There it is. Click, click, then quiet. The simmer holds. The soup is settled and sure. A corporal steps in. He checks the line with half a smile. He trusts the cook. He trusts the guard. He knows the routine saves trouble. It also saves time. He says, no crowding. He does not need to say more. You step a toe back. You feel silly and proud, like the bouncer at Club Marmite. Everyone looks too tired to dance anyway. A fact tucks itself under the steam. French soldiers often refer to the nightly brew as pot-au-feu. The field version is simple. No fancy cuts. No bouquet wrapped in a string. Just bones and beef and what the road gives you. But the name carries weight. It is a home dish, translated as boots and mud. You can taste the plan in it. Feed many. Waste little. Boil safe. You glance at the ladle. The handle is extended for a reason. It keeps hands out of danger. It also serves as a measure. 2 ladles are a fair night. 1 is tight but okay. 3 is a miracle. The cook doles without rush. He does not fish extras for friends. He will not be bribed with jokes or sighs. He is judge, jury, and soup master. You give him respect. He provides you with dinner. It is a perfect little democracy hung on a hook. Another small rule lives here. Spoons stay on cords until your bowl is in hand. No dipping. No tapping the surface like a koi pond. The cook points his ladle like a baton if anyone forgets. You grin. Spoon discipline, you say in your head, is the reason civilization works. Also, it stops the spit in the stew. That helps. The guard swaps places with the fire tender. Roles rotate. No one stands still long enough to freeze. You feed a stick to the coals. The flame smiles and leans in. Sparks lift and die. It is easy to stare at them and think of nothing. That is a good thing to consider. The cook sets the ladle back on the cloth. He nods once. Ready. He does not shout. No one needs a shout. Bowls come forward in order. Oldest in your mess goes first tonight. The next night, the youngest goes first. It moves like that, so no one suffers a long streak of last. It is a small mercy. It is also smart. Tired men get testy. Rules are blankets. They keep the peace warm. As you wait, you notice a little string tied from one handle lug to the other. It crosses the lid like a smile. It is a trip line for thieves, a joke, and a trap. If someone lifts the lid when no one looks, the string pulls a spoon that clatters down. You shake your head. It is simple, and it has probably caught one thief, but it makes your mess laugh. Laughter is a spice too. A thought floats up with the steam. Historians still argue whether the standard mess counted 8 or 10 mouths in all campaigns. The numbers dance across years and fronts. The ground makes new rules in each place. But here, tonight, your little circle feels just right. Enough arms to carry wood. Enough voices to sing. Enough spoons to clink like small bells. Not so many that the pot turns thin as rain. Your turn comes. The ladle pours. It is thick at the top and thin at the end. The cook cheats a bit to keep the bowls even. He stirs between scoops. He aims for fair, not perfect. You catch a carrot cube and a piece of beef. It feels like luck. You step away and make room. You crouch. The bowl warms your hands. You breathe twice. Then you raise your spoon. It is light and brave. It has waited so well. You dip and taste. Salt slides across your tongue. Fat coats the edges. Heat drops into your chest like a friendly stone. You let your shoulders go. You close your eyes. The world goes quiet to listen to you chew. Around you, the line moves. Ladle, bowl, step, sip. A soft rhythm fits the night. The guard relaxes. He still watches. He always will. Someone whispers a thank you to the cook. The cook shrugs and grins. He listens for the pot. He hears it settle. He hears it tell him the truth he loves. The marmite is the heart. Please keep it safe. Please keep it clean. Feed it, and it feeds you. You eat another spoonful. The dog inches near. You nudge him away and sneak a tiny piece in a moment later. He takes it like a saint. Your spoon knocks the bowl once. A little toast. To iron. To order. To that quiet border where rules turn smoke into supper. You smile and eat. The pot breathes. The night leans close. The ladle rests its royal head. All is well for now. The bowl in your hands tells the truth of the road. You taste salt pork, peas, and a hint of heat. But there is more inside. It holds a day's work in tiny pieces. It has the official ration and the quiet lack of hedgerows. You look down and see the map of dinner. A mate opens a cloth bundle. Out slips a grey block of salt pork. It smells like a dock and a pantry. He slices a thin rind. He drops it into the pot to gloss the water. Fat blooms like tiny stars. Another man shows the beef. It is brutal and honest. It will soften if you treat it kindly. The cook nods. He knows that trick. Boil, then simmer. Never rush. Patience is a virtue in uniform. Bread waits on a board. Big, brown, and dense. Pain diminution. The army bakes it in field ovens and in towns. The crumb is coarse. It holds up in the rain. It hits your stomach like a handshake. A hard fact fits here. Bread is the main ration for French troops. Meat shows up, but bread is the anchor. Wine or brandy appears in sips. dried peas, beans, or rice help when luck fades. The list looks neat on paper. The road makes edits. 2 men vanish and then return with turnips and leeks. They raided a hedge with fast hands and warm smiles. A farmer got a paper chit, a bon. It says the army will pay later. Maybe it will. Perhaps it will not. Historians still argue whether these receipts brought about real peace or merely kept tempers quiet until the troops moved on. You put the debate aside and wash the dirt from a leek. It looks like a green sword that never learned to fight. You grin at that. You chop it fine so it can win in the pot instead. The knife tap-taps. White rings fall like coins. Turnips drop into soft cubes. You scrub a carrot with a rag and shave it thin. You slice garlic, if you have it. You press it with salt. You smear it into a paste. It bites your nose and then kisses it. All of it slides into the marmite. Steam tastes brighter. It is as if the pot has learned to smile with its eyes. You crumble hard bread into a bowl. You ladle a little broth onto it. You mash it with the back of your spoon. It turns into a soft paste, a panade. This is the secret that makes a little meat feel like a lot. You whisk in a curl of fat. You pinch in salt. You drop spoonfuls back into the pot. They drift and swell. Now your thin soup grows a body. Your spoon will stand for a second when you're done. The mess cheers in quiet voices. Stretching dinner is a noble art. You do not need a medal. You need crumbs and time. A mate shows a tiny pouch. Pepper. A miracle. He taps it once. The smell wakes up the broth. You do not waste it. You use it like a blessing. A splash of wine from a canteen goes in too. It feels fancy. It also cleans the flavor from the sides of the pot. The old varnish gives it back. You stir and scrape and hum to keep your hands slow. Rushing makes soup salt. Across the circle, a man coughs and holds up a pale thing, a dried biscuit from a wagon. Not common, but sometimes the bread fails, and a biscuit fills the gap. You grate it with your knife. It flakes like chalk. The crumbs rain down like snow and thicken the brew. The dog watches each motion as if it were a magic show. You tell him he can be the assistant. He is very proud of this job. You keep the meat honest. You fish it out. You slice it thin across the grain. It will chew softer that way. You lay slices on each pile, like little flags on small hills. The blind chooser calls names. The piles walk away to bowls. You catch your share. It sits warm and ready in the crook of your hand. You wait again as the line moves. Spoon discipline keeps the peace even when the smell turns everyone into a wolf. You joke softly that your spoon is a tiny officer with a big voice. That gets you one eye roll and one secret grin. Perfect score. You are not greedy with greens. You add what the land gives. A few dandelion leaves. A handful of sorrel. They wilt and lie flat. They lift the broth with a tart twist. Some nights, you find watercress by a ditch. It makes the soup taste like a small river. You fish out a stone from the stream too. Smooth. Hot soup always thanks a clean stone. It retains heat and maintains a steady simmer even when the fire subsides. Is that science? Maybe. Is it magic? Also, quirky truth. Some squads carry the same soup stone for months and whisper to it before adding. You are not saying you do. You are just saying it works. The cook checks the salt by tasting it with a piece of bread crust. He dips, presses, and tastes. He nods. He throws in a bay leaf saved in a cartridge wrapper. He hides a sprig of thyme in his hatband, just in case. That small herb stash lives with him like a lucky coin. Stories say some men sew bay leaves into their coat hem. That way storms cannot wash dinner bare. You consider it. It sounds smart. It also sounds like a nice way to smell like a garden when you pass through towns. It could be worse. Someone mentions a number. The meat is thin this week. The wagons lag. The cattle drovers got lost or forgot the road. You shrug. You have learned to turn thin into thick with bread, peas, and thyme. You keep a pot humming even when the larder sulks. You do not brag. You stir and wait. The pebble in the pot clicks once and then quiets. The simmer holds. The lid sighs. Everything softens. A remarkable fact floats up with the steam. Foraging parties are normal. A sergeant takes a few men out. They look for mills, barns, and gardens. They bring back what they can. Sometimes they pay in coins. Sometimes in those paper notes. Sometimes in smiles and quick feet. Officers try to keep order because angry towns mean angry roads. And maps mean nothing if every mile hates you. The system works best when the oven fires and the hedges give green. It works worse when the snow eats the path. We will get there later. For now, this field is kind. You pull a musket ramrod free, and no, you do not play with the gun. But you do use the rod to roll a quick dough snake from wet crumbs on a board. You pinch off tiny dumpling. You drop them in. They puff and bob. You whisper, balls of victory. Easy joke, easy smile. The guard pretends not to laugh. The dog does not pretend at all. Historians still argue whether most messes cooked meat every day, or if meat days came and went like the weather. Diaries hint at feast and famine. Ledgers show tidy plan. Your bowl shows the middle ground. Tonight is not a feast. It is not famine. It is soup that holds you up and lets you sleep. It is enough. The ladle lift. Bowls move. You pass yours back to the oldest man in line. You grab the next and hand it forward. The chain keeps order. It also warms hands all the way down. You tap your spoon twice on the rim. Not loud, just a thanks in tin. You eat and feel the leek melt. The turnip softens into something sweet. The bread dumplings carry fat and salt to places that ache. Your eyes close for a beat. You do not sleep yet, but you could. You lick the spoon clean. You hang it back on its cord. It taps your chest, a tiny salute. You set your empty bowl near the fire to dry. You shake out crumbs for the dog. He pretends this is a surprise gift. You smile into the steam. The ratio is simple. The hedgerow is kind. Your mess is clever. And your pot, old and black and a little proud, makes miracles with both. You hold your spoon like a medal. It hangs from its cord against your chest. It taps your rib in a slow, steady beat. You laugh and call it your second heart. Your mates nod. They know. Lose the spoon and your stomach files a complaint in triplicate. The cook does not care about your charm. He cares about the tool that moves soup. You check the knot. It loops through your top buttonhole. The spoon rests flat, bowl down, so it does not flash in firelight. That is a small trick. Shine draws eyes. Eyes draw hands. Hands steal spoons. You learned that once. Now your spoon sleeps where you can feel it. You even tuck the handle under your waist belt when you run. It does not bang. It stays yours. The mess drills the serving order like a small parade. Not loud, not stiff, just clear. Bowls to the front. Hands ready. Oldest first tonight, youngest tomorrow. Then clockwise after that. No one rushes. No one cuts. You act it out as a game before the real ladle. It sounds silly. It saves time. It also keeps soup off boots. Someone claps at the end. You bow. The dog barks like you won a medal. You did. Best in spoon handling, field edition. The corporal checks spoons like a customs officer at a border. He walks the line. He says your name. You lift the spoon. He grunts. That grunt means you may enter the Republic of Soup. You grin. You know he looks for clean metal or clean wood. He looks for smooth edges. No sharp chips. No rough bowls. A bad spoon cuts lips. A dirty spoon cuts days. You clean yours with sand and ash. That is the rule. Warm water, a pinch of ash, and a rub with grass or a rag. Rinse in the hot. Dry over smoke. You should avoid using soap if possible. It leaves a taste. Your spoon carries a mild shine now. It smells like wood smoke and thyme. If a friend forgets to clean, he borrows yours. No, he does not. He gets a lecture with gentle words and a spare rag. You are kind, but you are not wild. A fact sits behind the jokes. Many soldiers bring their own spoon from home. Some get one from the unit stores. Wood is common. Tin is common. Pewter can show up. Historians still argue whether wood or tin ruled the ranks, and whether issue spoons were standard. Diaries brag one way. Receipts whisper another. You do not pick a side. You tap your spoon with your nail, and just like the sound it makes, it rings like a tiny bell when it is metal. It thunks like a small drum when it is wood. Either song sounds like dinner. You set a little drill for yourself. It goes like this. Check the cord. Check the bowl for cracks. Wipe with ash. Hold, breathe, wait. Do not dip until cold. That last one bites. The steam teases. Your hand aches to move. You lock your elbow to your knee. You watch the ladle, not the pot. You let your breath do the slow work. You joke that discipline is just patience with a hat. A mate snorts. He says your hat is loud. You nod. That was the point. A A quirky habit runs in your mess. Before the ladle pours, each of you touches the spoon to the rim and taps once. It is a soft oath. It says, we serve fair, we eat fair, we clean fair. Does it do anything? Maybe not. But the tap makes heads drop and voices hush. It turns a crowd into a circle. A circle feeds better than a crowd. You mark your spoon. A notch near the handle. One tiny burn mark near the bowl. You do not brag, but you know it in the dark by touch. Men carve regimental numbers. Some scratch a small fish or star. Some press a coin against hot metal to stamp a ghost. You only need to know yours. Anything more is vanity, and you have enough weight on your back already. You go over the nope list with the new guy. No pocket dipping. No test sips from the ladle. No parading the spoon near the pot while we serve. No pointing at the meat with your spoon. You point with your finger, or better yet, not at all. The cook lifts a brow when he sees that. You want to eat again tomorrow, so you nod and stop. Spoons do odd jobs all day. You measure salt with them. You scoop ash. You dig wax from a cartridge to seal a tear in a pouch. You spread pork fat on bread. You stir coffee when luck smiles and coffee arrive. You even tighten a strap hole with the handle tip when the leather swells in the rain. Your spoon is a toolbox you can slurp from. Not bad for a curved stick. Night comes, and with it, sleepy rules. You sleep with your spoon inside your coat, under your shirt, or even in your cap. It sounds silly. It is not. You wake if fingers try to tug it. That is your alarm. One mate ties a hair from his head to his spool hole. If it breaks, he wakes. Yes, that is dramatic, but he still has a spoon. You salute the method. Quietly, the corporal of supplies, the fourier, checks the mess kit once a week. He counts kettles, axes, buckets, and yes, spoons. He does not count every single spoon every time. He spots a check. He is not a villain. He is a shepherd for things. He knows tools walk away if no one looks. He knows spoons jump fences when no one whistles. His stare keeps them tame. You think of the bottom of the pot ritual. The fond clings to iron like treasure. You do not scrape too hard. The seasoning matters. The first bowls get broth. The last bowls often get thick. To keep it fair, the cook flips the order. First becomes last. Last becomes first. It is a neat, small justice. You once wrote it on a scrap. Turn the pot, turn the line. You thought you were a poet. The dog thought you were holding food. Another fact floats up. A French escouade sits under a corporal. He keeps order at the fire. He holds the roster that rotates who cooks and who guards. He is the reason bowls reach hands and not dirt. He is also the man who makes jokes stop when they start to spark. You respect him. He respects the pot. The pot respects no one. It only obeys heat and time. Spoon discipline even shows in the sound of the camp. No banging before food. No clatter that tricks men into false starts. One tap means almost ready. 2 taps mean line up. 3 taps mean the ladle is moving. You make those taps soft. You do not need a parade. You need a meal. Still, you smile. You call it the spoon tattoo. Like the drum, but with dinner. You hold your bowl and feel the old urge to sprint. You do not. You step to the right, 2 paces as taught. You tuck in. You keep the lane clear for the next bowl. You keep your elbows in. Spoon goes in. Spoon comes out. You do not wave it like a flag. You do not duel. You eat. Simple. Calm. The road thanks you for not making a show. A fringe tale whispers across fires. Some men say a general once fined an entire company because spoons were visible in a photo. You laugh. That is not how time works yet, but the joke lands. It carries a truth. Pride lives in small things. Let pride ride in your spoon, not in your swagger. You clean your spoon when the bowl is empty. You wipe it with bread. You lick it. You rinse it in hot water. You dry it in the smoke. You hang it back. You pat it once. It is silly. It is also a ritual. Ritual turns a cold field into a kitchen. You hear the pebble click in the pot again, remember? Then fall quiet. The simmer returns to sleep. The ladle rests. You tuck your spoon under your coat and feel the slight curve against your ribs. It is a tiny shield you carry from night to day. It holds soup. It holds peace. It keeps order when hunger tries to shout. You smile at the secret power of a simple tool. You do not need silver. You need to be steady. You move toward the low thunder. The ground shivers, soft but sure. Smoke folds across the field, gray on gray. You keep your head down and your spoon tucked tight. The pot swings on its hook and hums. The pebble inside clicks once, like a cricket with stage fright. You smile, then stop. The air tastes of brimstone and soup. Two moods. One sky. Voices. Keep calm. A drummer ties his drum to a branch and rubs his hands. A cook checks the coals with a stick. He is careful. He is slow. He is brave in a quiet way. You watch him pull the pot a finger's width from the hottest glow. He does not rush. He makes the simmer hold like a low note. The guns answer with their own bass line. Loud far, soft near. Your ribs feel each boom like a gentle nudge. You prefer hugs. Cannons are not good huggers. A small shape steps out of the smoke. A woman in a short jacket, stout skirt, and boots. A little cask rides on a strap at her hip. A tin cup swings like a bell. A vivandière. Some call her cantinière. She nods to the cook, then to you. She pours a measure for a man with pale fingers. He wraps the cup and waits while the steam paints his face. A hard fact stands. French units often had licensed vivandières who sold drinks and food to the men. They wore parts of the uniform and carried those neat, small barrels. They were genuine parts of the camp. She has a second pot today. Tiny. Copper. It steams and smells faintly of broth and wine. She calls it fort soup. You grin. You wish all forts were like that. She serves with speed but not fuss. She knows where the line is. The corporal gives her a small space, a little island of order in smoke. She lives on that island like a queen with a ladle. The men come in ones and twos. They take a sip. They breathe. They stand taller after. You feel it when your turn comes. Heat slides into your chest. Your fingers stop their jitter. Your jaw unclenches. You notice birds in the smoke now. You did not see them before. You did not see much beyond the pot and your own pulse. You crack a joke under your breath. Please hold your applause, dear cannon. We are eating. Nobody hears you. That is okay. The soup does. It clucks like a happy hen and keeps the lid down. The spoon on your cord taps your sternum once. It says, stand easy. You listen because your spoon has great wisdom. A round shot lands far downfield and rolls like a black beetle. Men glance. No one runs. You all crouch by habit, then rise by habit. The cook steadies the tripod with his boot. The hook creaks, then holds. You can feel your heart try to sprint. You make it walk. Steam helps. It is warm air you can have. That is powerful. The vivandière hands a cup to a boy who is not a boy. He has a small mustache and big eyes. She pats his sleeve. He nods, then shakes the last cloud from his head. She moves on. She never blocks the line. She never turns her back on the road. She knows the rules as well as any corporal. Some say brandy comes out before a fight. A tiny ration. The gut. Sometimes coffee shows up too, if luck smiles and wagons catch up. Historians still argue whether the warm drink helped courage or only made men feel busy while they waited for the order. A fringe habit winks at you from the fire. The cook tucks a coin under one of the pot legs. For luck, he says. He swears it keeps shot from finding dinner. You raise a brow. He shrugs. You shrug back. Quirky charms are cheap. If the soup comes out right, you will thank the coin like a saint. You notice a mark on the pot lid. A small cross scratched with a nail. Another charm. Another habit. Camp is full of these tiny anchors. They keep minds from drifting to bad places. So do jobs. You take the ladle and skim the top. You scrape the bottom with a careful circle. The fond whispers. It lets go. The soup grows evenly. Your hands find work, and work makes time slow again. A fact hums under your feet. There is no big wheeled stove here. No soup cannon. That comes later, long after this war. You cook like you always do. Iron on hooks. Coals in a shallow pit. Fences become fuel when paid for or borrowed. The road teaches old tricks and makes them fast. Your mess lives by that. The guns lift their voice a little. You feel it in your teeth. You answer by fixing the line. Bowls. Order. Two-tap signal. Oldest first today. The corporal nods. The guard keeps the edge clear. You do not let fear turn you into a crowd. You stay in a circle. You own the spoon oath. Your little rules stand up to big noise. That is the kind of magic you trust. The vivandière crouches and ladles from her pot for a man with a bandaged hand. No gore, just a wrap. He is fine. He winces, takes a sip, and grins as if the world just remembered his name. Hot broth steadies him. It steadies you too. You feel the same heat in your chest. You think the same slow breath. Warmth is a friend with good advice. A drummer boy sidles close. He eyes the pot like it owes him money. You tap his cap. Stand in line, Monsieur Drum. He nods. he stands straighter. The kid deserves 10 bowls, but he gets one like everyone else. That is good. Fair food tastes better. The dog appears. Of course he does. He sits as if he just invented patience. He watches the ladle rise and fall. He does not flinch at the boom. He trusts you to remember him. You do. You save a crust of pain de mier and soften it with a drip. You do not spoil him. You just let him share the spell. You think of the women who walk with the train. Wives, laundresses, sellers. They carry home in bits. They bring cups, needles and news. Some march close, some march far. Historians still argue whether vivandières stood on the firing line often, or if most worked behind the ridge until the noise eased. Paintings make them brave. Diaries scatter them near and far. You only know the one in front of you, calm as a pond, pouring cups in smoke. Another gentle joke slips out. You call the ladle your soup saber. You swing it once like a hero in a play. The cook snorts and says you are not allowed on a stage until after dinner. Fair point. You bow to him with the ladle and get back to work. Theater is fine. Soup is finer. You feel the tripod sway when the wind shifts. You brace one leg with your boot and push coals with your stick. The pebble inside rattles, then rests. Remember that sound? It is back. It tells you the boil is steady. It tells you the pot has found its breath. You breathe with it. Slow in, slow out. Count to 4. Please do it again. It works. Bowls move. The line holds. The last ladles go to those who were previously yesterday. That small justice keeps cheeks soft. The vivandière finishes her pot. She rinses the cup with hot water. She gives the cook a nod that you feel in your chest. It says thanks. It says keep going. It says we will see each other on the next ridge. You crouch with your bowl and your old friend, the spoon. The rim heats your palm. Your fingers are steady. The first sip is a quiet bell inside you. It rings once. It rings clear. The guns still talk, but they seem farther now. Your head fills with steam and time. Your shoulders loosen. Your jaw remembers how to smile. The dog puts his chin on your boot. You press your heel against his soft ear. You stand and pass the empty bowls to the wash. Ash, hot water, rinse, dry by smoke. You wipe your spoon and slide it back under your coat. It rests by your heart again. A tiny shield, a tiny drum. You feel taller by 1 inch, which is the exact size of a spoon's courage. You watch the vivandière vanish in the haze. You watch the cook settle the lid. You watch the smoke twist into the gray sky like a ribbon that does not know which way the wind goes, but goes anyway. You turn to the bread. The loaf is thick and brown. The crust crackles like old paint. You break a piece and feel your jaw think about quitting. It is fine. It is strong. It can handle this shift. You dip the chunk into the broth and wait. 1 breath. 2. The bread softens. It turns from a doorstop into a poem. You bite. Steam fills your mouth. Fat and salt make friends with crumb. Your eyes close for half a blink. You are not asleep. You are just grateful. Pain diminution is no joke. The army bakes it in big batches. Field ovens glow behind hedges and barns. Bakers wear suit-like medals. A plain fact stands up here. Bread is the main ration for French troops. Meat comes and goes. Wine comes and goes. Bread stays. Historians still argue whether the daily target was 1 pound or closer to 1.5 pounds. Numbers change with roads and rain. Your hands only know what they hold. Tonight, they have a miracle you can chew. Salt sits in a slight twist of cloth near the pot. You open it and see gray crystals like tiny windows. You pinch some into your palm. You feel the grit. You throw a few flakes into the soup, and the whole pot brightens. Salt matters more than swagger. A loud man does not fix a thin stew. A pinch of salt does. You sweat on the march. Your body spends salt like coins. You repurchase it at dinner. You can feel the deal in your bones. You laugh and pretend to wink at the salt. It does not wink back. Rude little rocks. You forgive them fast. They saved your soup. Your mess keeps a salt horn. It is a small wooden tube with a cork. Someone carved it from a branch. It rides in a pocket wrapped in waxed cloth. That keeps it dry when rain tries to be the boss. A quirky trick like that feels small. It is not small when dinner tastes right. Behind you, 2 men pile mud and straw and smile like kids with a fort. You step over. You help. You wet your hands and pat clay into a low ring. You add more clay and build a dome. It looks like a sleeping turtle. You resist the urge to name it. A stick frames the door. You leave a flue at the top. You rub the surface smooth with wet fingers. You plant straw in the cracks like hair on a scarecrow. You grin. The new oven looks silly. It will work. You feed twigs inside and light a small fire. The flame licks the clay and dries it. You add more wood. Heat builds. The dome turns from dark to warm. It will hold heat like a bank holds coins. You know the steps by heart because the bakers show them in every village. They call these fours de campagne. Field ovens. Simple, fast, tough. A line of them can feed a whole regiment. That is a strong sentence. It also smells like heaven. The professional bakers do some things you copy. They throw a pinch of flour on the oven floor to test the heat. If it browns at once, the oven is ready. If it burns black, you wait. If it stays pale, you stoke the fire. Simple, neat, human. A man with a broom made of twigs sweeps the floor. He dips the broom in water to tame the dust. Steam puffs out in a soft sigh. The sound feels like a cat settling into a pillow. A dough line forms. Big bowls. Sticky hand. Flour on sleeves. Men knead with thick fingers. They fold and press and fold again. A sergeant stamps each loaf with a mark so that the count is accurate. You slide a loaf onto a wooden board. You score the top with a knife. The cut guides the rise. It also looks pretty, and you will not lie, you like pretty bread. You load the loaves fast. You close the door with a flat stone. You wait. While you wait, you chew a crust dipped in broth. You smear a lick of pork fat on it. You add 1 grain of salt and call it a feast. Your jaw files a tiny union note and then laughs and gets back to work. The dog sits near your boot with his best face. You do not fall for it. Then you fall for it. You flick him 1 crumb. He catches it like a magician and pretends he is noble. You think of salt again. Barrels of pork and beef travel with the train. Salt keeps them safe. Salt allows food to sit and not spoil as quickly. Without salt, the road eats your larder. With salt, your larder lasts another day. You dip your finger in the cloth, twist, and touch a flake to your tongue. It sparks like a tiny fire and then fades. You do not need much. A little wakes the pot. A little keeps legs from cramping. A little carries you 1 more mile. Historians still argue whether field ovens were used in Spain and on winter roads. Some diaries praise fresh loaves. Others curse hard biscuit instead. Truth hides in between. When the ground is kind, ovens blaze. When storms win, you get biscuit. You have tasted both. Bread sing, biscuit lectures. Both will fill you. Only one will make you close your eyes and sigh. The stone at the oven's mouth warms your hands. You pull it. A wave of heat kisses your face. You reach in with a long paddle. The crusts shine like barns at sunset. You tap a loaf. It thumps back, hollow and proud. You stack them on cloth so the bottoms do not sweat. Steam curls in white threads. The air smells like fields and patience. A man makes a dumb joke that the bread is so good you are not allowed to marry it. You pretend to think about it. You say you will send a letter to its father. You carry 2 loaves to your mess. The corporal cuts fair slices. He keeps the heel for the man who had a rough day. Small kindness, big taste. You dip your slice in soup. The crumb drinks twice its size and does not break. It keeps its shape. That is why this bread is built like a brick. It is designed to withstand hot broth and emerge victorious. Your spoon lifts the soaked piece like a tiny crane. You do not spill a drop. You feel wealthy. Salt has 1 more trick. It pulls water from vegetables and meat. That makes things tender. You rub a pinch into leeks before they hit the pot. They sigh and go sweet. You salt a steak? Not tonight. But when you do, you know the rule. Salt early. Let it sink, then heat. Pride wants to rush. Salt says slow down. Salt is right. Pride can write poetry somewhere else. A fringe habit rides around camp. Some men sprinkle a grain of salt in coffee when it shows up. They say it cuts the bite. You tried it. It worked. It felt like a magic trick you can taste. You did not tell anyone. You like having 1 secret that is not about a spoon. You watch the oven crew knock the dome at the end. They let it cool. They save the clay if they can. If not, they build another tomorrow. It takes a pile of mud and a bit of time. It saves hours of chewing raw flour and that is a win. The bakers wipe their faces with sooty sleeve. One hums a tune. It fits the low breath of the camp. You pack your salt horn. You tuck the cloth, twist deep. You brush crumbs from your coat. You lick one finger and grin. You feel steadier than when the guns talk. You did not flex. You did not shout. You baked. You salted. You ate. You kept the rules. You kept the line. You did your part in a quiet war against hunger. Your spoon taps your chest, a little toast. The bread sighs as it cools. The oven glows down to red eyes. The night makes space for these small fires. You pull your cloak close and sit on your heel. You tear one more bite. You add one last flake of salt. Swagger can wait. The next mile can wait. The soft crunch cannot. You taste how the map changes the pot. The spoon brings up a new country with each sip. Roads bend, fields change color, markets smell different. Your broth follows along like a good scout. Italy comes first. The air feels soft and green. Hill towns lean over vines. You buy onions, garlic, and a twist of rosemary from a woman with strong hands. Olive oil glows in a jug like a small sunset. A merchant breaks dry pasta into short bits with his palm. He calls it macaroni. You smile, because your pot knows how to hug little shapes like that. Chickpeas tumble into a sack. Chestnuts fall like marbles into your hat. You throw a thumb of oil into the marmite. It shivers and then smiles. Garlic hits the heat. The smell stands up and waves. You stir slowly. You add chickpeas, a few pasta bits, and a chestnut or two. The broth turns silky. It is the same old pot. It just speaks Italian for a night. Historians still argue whether tomatoes were introduced into ordinary pots during these years, or if that is a later taste we imagine. You keep it simple. Onion, oil, herb, water, thyme. Your spoon sighs in a new accent. You make a joke and call this the field-to-spoon movement. The mess stares. Then one man snorts. He gets it 3 seconds late, which makes it funnier. You declare chickpeas' tiny biceps. They flex in the broth and hold you up. The pot agrees. It puffs a garlic kiss into the night. You save a crust of local bread. It is lighter than your army loaf and tastes faintly of smoke. You dip it and feel very, very wise. Then the sand and glare change everything. Egypt, bright light, flat roofs, wind like a hot hand. The market swims with onions, lentils, rice, and dates. Spices sit in bowls, colors bright as flag. Cumin smells like warm dust in a good way. Coriander smells like a lemon that forgot it was a fruit. You keep it careful. A pinch, 2 at most. Your pot is not used to this dance, but it learns. You wash rice in a cloth. You tie it so the grains do not escape. You lower the bag in with a stick. The rice cooks and stays useful, not sticky. Lentils go in after. Onion goes first. Always onion. A hard fact sits here. Surgeons on this campaign urge boiling water and keeping cups clean, because the Nile's gifts come with tiny, mean surprises. You remember that and let the pot run hot for a full minute, then ease to a slow breath. You watch a camel stare at your spoon like it knows you have no idea what you are doing. Fair. You do a slight bow to the camel anyway. A quirky truth drifts in from a cart. Locals sell sacks of olive pits and date stones for fuel. They burn hot and fast. You feed a handful into the coals to try. They snap and glow like beetles. The pot hums brighter. You grin. The heat tastes different. Clean. Quick. You keep the line. Even here, with the sun like a drum on your back, you do the taps. 1 is almost ready. 2 for a lineup. 3 for ladle. The spoon oath still works under palm trees. You hand a bowl to a mate. He stares at the rice and laughs. He has not seen white like that in weeks. He eats slowly, as if speed will make it vanish. You add a date to your bowl after the soup cool. It melts to sweet threads. It feels like permission. Sharp edges and red dirt characterize Spain. Olive groves. Dry air. Hills that look tired. Supply lines twist. Guerrillas slice roads like scissors. You learn to cook with speed and nerve. Garlic walks across every kitchen here. Pimentone, that soft, smoky paprika, stains fingers. Chorizo shows up when luck winks. Chickpeas again. Your pot feels at home. You warm a thumb of oil and let the garlic go dull gold. A coin of sausage lands in the heat. It paints the broth a shy red. Chickpeas dive in. A bay leaf swims past like a boat. You call this mix marching cocido, and nobody argues. You ask for water from a farmhouse. You get it with a stare and a warning. Mind the orchard. Mind the fence. You nod. You leave a coin or a chit. You keep your boots light. You keep the fire small. A clay olja sits by the door. The woman of the house taps it. That is where slow food lives on a good day. Your day is not sluggish. Your day run. So your broth runs light but brave. Historians still argue whether units lived well off Spanish markets or starved between ambushes. Diaries split right down the road. Tonight you got spices and a clean ditch. Tomorrow might be biscuit and a shrug. For now, your spoon tastes of smoke and sun, with a hint of orange peel someone saved in a pocket. You toss in a single strip of cured ham rind. It gives its soul to the pot and then leaves, dignified. You cheer inside your head. The dog sneezes paprika and looks offended. You apologize to his nose. You promise him a plain mess tomorrow. He forgives you after one chickpea. Poland brings the sky down low and grey. Fields vast as size. Forests like walls. Villages are squat and sturdy. You trade oil for lard. You trade pasta for buckwheat. Groats pour into your pot like gravel disguised as love. You fry them in fat first, just a touch. They toast. They smell like warm bread crust. Water goes in. They swell and bob. You add shredded cabbage. You find a beet and shave it thin. The broth turns a shy pink. The steam smells sweet and earthy. A farmer's wife shares a cup of sauerkraut brine. You pour a little into the pot near the end. The soup sits up straight. Sour wakes everything. You remember to be kind with salt, because the brine brings its own. You tuck in a scrap of smoked bacon. The scent moves through the line like a rumor with proof. A man hums low. He knows this taste from home, and for 1 minute, the road feels friendly. You call the dish kosher soup, and your mates nod. They have no better name. The spoon stands for a second in the thick. That is a good sign in this cold. The air bites your ears. Steam fogs your lashes. You let it. A plain fact stands near the fire. Buckwheat and barley are common here, and they travel well. They do not mind bad roads. They make bellies calm. When the wind cuts, you want heavy bowls and short stories. You can supply both. A small fringe habit pops up at the pot. A man drops a clove of garlic on a string, dips it 3 times, then hangs it on his coat. He swears it keeps coughs away. You do not test the science. You like the look. You want the smell even more. He smells like a kitchen with boots. War tempo changes recipes as much as the weather. When orders grow sharp and marches grow long, dinner shrinks to a 10-minute broth. Boil water. Drop bread. Salt once. Sip fast. Move. When the line pauses near a mill or a town, you open the pantry of the land. Italy drops herbs. Egypt drops rice. Spain drops smoke. Poland drops groats. Your spoon becomes a passport. It will stamp in 4 countries before the end of the week. You keep the rules with it. Even when you run, you do not crowd. Even when you feast, you do not brag. You tap the rim once and pass the bowl along. You lean back. You watch steam write its little postcards in the air. Olive, sand, dust, snow-scented cold. All in one pot, across one map. The dog yawns. He dreams in 4 languages and 1 bark. You smile. You clean your spoon with ash and hot water. The same way in every place. Some things change, some do not. The spoon stays stubborn and brave. The bowl stays warm. Your mess stays a circle. The soup keeps singing, and you keep listening. You slog on frozen roads that sing like glass. Each step squeaks. Your breath hangs as a small cloud that refuses to leave. The spoon sleeps under your coat. It taps your ribs like a metronome with cold hands. The marmite swings from a pole. It thumps your thigh and feels heavier than last night. Snow scrapes across fields like salt on a table. Trees stand thin and stiff. You keep moving because stopping is not on the menu. You pick a spot for fire, not a drift, not ice. You stamp the snow hard until it packs flat. You lay a floor. Branches first, then split rail, then twig. Fire dies if it sinks. Fire needs a bed. You learned that rule the hard way. You stack wood in a star and light the middle. Sparks rise like tiny ghosts. The flame bites, then sulks, then smiles. You feed it slowly. The dog, yes, he is still with you, tucks himself into your cloak like a little furnace with ears. Good dog. You set the tripod. Iron stings your fingers even through cloth. You wrap the hook with a rag so it does not glue itself to your skin. The pot hangs. It looks brave and a little foolish in this white. You do not pump it full of snow. That is a rookie move. Snow burns if you toss it dry into a hot iron. You pour in a cup of water first, then snow, then stir, then more snow. It melts down to almost nothing. 10 potfuls become 1. You sigh. You keep feeding the white beast anyway. You have patience and a spoon. That is enough. A fact curls with the steam. The winter of 1812 on these roads is no joke. The retreat from Moscow turns men into shadows and horses into memory. The cold bites deep. Some days it falls far below freezing. Numbers get tossed around like hats in the wind. Historians still debate whether the true lows match the wild claims in old books, and whether cold, hunger, or disease took more lives. You do not track numbers. You track heat. You build it. You drink it. You pass it along. You skim the top with the ladle. Ice crystals form on the rim and crack as you wipe. Your fingers say, enough. You warm your spoon under your arm before it meets your lips later. That is a trick worth gold. A metal spoon will kiss and hold and not let go. Wood is kinder. Tonight, even wood feels sharp. You rub it with a bit of fat and call that anti-stick, which is funny until someone ignores you. You learned that lesson. You will not tell the story. Your lips remember. You stare at the ration bag. It stares back, almost empty. You find peas. You find a clump of salt. A few bread ends are as hard as stone. You crush the bread with your heel inside a cloth. You shake out crumbs into a bowl and add a dip of hot water. Panade, old friend. It grows like a small snow bank. You whisk in a shaving of tallow from a candle. Yes, candle. Bougie bouillon, you call it, and the name makes someone grin. The fat melts and spreads thin joy. It is not a feast, but it is warmth. You add a handful of sauerkraut if you have it, or a splash of its brine. The pot perks up. The sour wakes the tongue in a cold that tries to put it to sleep. You shave a beet from a village store. A shy pink colors the broth. It looks like hope remembered its coat. Buckwheat shows up again. Toast the groats in a dry pan for 1 minute. They smell like honest bread. Then you drop them in. They swell. They thick. Your spoon stands for 1 brave second, and everyone cheers with their eyes. Then comes the choice with sharp edges. A horse drops on the road, not from a blade, but from cold and work. Men gather. There is no noise, no speech. You do what the ground allows. You slice clean. You take what can be taken with care and speed. You bring thin strips to the pot. You lay them across the grain. They curl and darken. The broth turns deeper. You add salt like a prayer. It is not pretty. It is not a tale for a fire at home. It is dinner that lets your mess stand up again. Hard truth softened by broth. You do not hide it from yourself. You also do not linger. You stir. You skim. You breathe. A fringe habit comes out in this cold. You wrap the pot in a greatcoat for the last stretch to march. You tuck hot stones from the fire under the coat at the sides. Haybox cooking, but with snow and straw and hope. It keeps the heat for a slow mile. When you stop, the pot still sighs. The soup did not freeze. That feels like a minor miracle you can sip. You lay more tricks on the table. You toast a spoonful of flour in a dry pan until it turns a tan color. You whisk that into the pot to thicken. It is called making a brown roux, but you do not say fancy words tonight. You say, this will help. It does. You tie a clove of garlic in a rag and dip it 3 times, like your friend in Poland showed you. It leaves a hint. It leaves spirit. The dog sniffs and approves with a serious face. You keep the line even in frost. Tap once. Almost ready. Tap twice. Line up. Tap thrice. Ladle moves. No pushing. No jokes near the pot. Laugh later, when bowls sit in hands. You pass a bowl to the man whose boots look loud with cracks. He needs the first heat. The order flips from last night, same as always. The rule is a blanket again. You pull it up to your chin. You take your turn. You crouch. The snow creaks. The steam curls and climbs into your scarf. The first sip is hot enough to make your eyes water, in a good way. Salt wakes your mouth. Fat finds the cold places in your chest and shoves them out. Groats fill corners that fear made empty. You breathe. The wind keeps talking. You talk back with soup. You win this round. A hard fact stops by the fire. The Berezina River crossing, late November 1812, turns the world to ice and smoke. Bridges break. Men shove and pray and fight to cross. Fires burn on both banks. Pots hang where they can. Broth goes to hands that shake. You were not at that exact bridge, but you have seen a river like that and a fire like this. And you know hot soup can teach a hand to steady for 10 more minutes when 10 minutes is the whole point. You shake out your salt twist. Grains fall like stars. You add a single bay leaf from your hatband. It is cracked and brave. It still gives. You save the leaf after, press it flat, and slide it back up there. Lucky leaf, doing overtime. You give the dog a thumb of bread soaked in broth. He blinks slowly. He looks like a wise old mayor. He might be the smartest one here. Historians still argue whether discipline held on the worst days, or if the camp rules cracked under ice and fear. Some memoirs praise steady lines. Others list chaos. You saw both. You saw men shove. You saw men pull each other back into the circle. Tonight, your mess stays gentle. You think the spoon helps. The cord reminds you. The touch on the rim, that old oath, still land. Rituals hold when fingers go numb. A quirky tip sneaks back in. Warm the spoon again before you clean it. Do not lick it in cold. You will wear the spoon for an hour, like a weird lip ring. The corporal will laugh exactly once. Then he will hand you a rag and a lecture. You will deserve both. You choose the rag now. You rinse with hot water and wipe with ash. You dry it over the smoke. You hang it back under your coat. It taps your chest, tiny and proud. You bank the fire with a slab of wood to make a Swedish torch. A log split like a pie, set upright, flame fed in the center. It burns hot and not too wide, suitable for one pot, one circle, one small joy. The pebble in the pot clicks once, then stills. You remember that sound from warmer nights. It is different here, softer under the snow, still kind. You pour the last bowls. You scrape the fond with care. You save the thick for the ones who stood watch longest. You pack the leftovers into a tin. It gels fast in the air and turns to a wobbly shield called aspic by fancy people and tomorrow by you. You wrap it in cloth and tuck it near your shirt. Your body heat keeps it alive. That's teamwork. You shoulder the pole. You lift the marmite. It moans like an old door. You smile and whisper, Bon Mauvais. Old girl, she has seen warmer fields. She will see them again. The snow hisses under your boots. The wind laughs and then runs ahead. You let it. You have soup inside you and a spoon that knows the way. The road is evil today, but your bowl was good. The scales feel even enough to move. You carry that warm bowl inside you as the road softens and the sky turns kind. The spoon taps your chest like a small metronome that now keeps time for peace. You walk into a quiet meadow that looks almost like a parade ground, only gentler. White canvas, blue coats, brass buttons, a rope line with little flag. Smoke hangs low. Voices laugh in low tones. You blink. It is today, but it is also then. Reenactors wave you over with sooty hand. Want to stir? They ask. You nod so fast you almost drop your hat. A black pot waits on an iron tripod. Not muskets this time. Actual tripods. Safety first. The lid sweats. Steam smells like onions and beef and thyme. Same as the old nights. You slide the ladle across the lid. You keep it off the dirt. Your hands remember. Your body remembers. You skim, scrape, and shift the pot a thumb's width from the hottest coal. The reenactor beside you grins. You've done this, he says. You grin back. You resist the urge to put Marmite Whisperer on a resume. A woman in a bright green jacket and skirt walks up with a tiny cask and a tin cup. She laughs and calls herself a vivandière. She pours water for kids, coffee for grown UPS, and a spoon of broth for anyone with a long face. You feel the past step close, not like a ghost, more like a friend who shows you old tricks with new care. A plain fact stands here. The 1791 French regulations lay out the escouade, the small squad that eats and cooks together, and that mess of 8 to 10 shape keeps its hold through these wars. You teach a kid the 2-tap signal you love. He taps like a woodpecker and beams. The line forms. The order feels sweet. You chat by the rope about spoons. Some are tin, some are wood. A man shows you a spoon copied from a real one in a museum. It is simple and marked with tiny cuts. He tells you that some veterans kept theirs for life, even carrying it to their grave. A quirky tidbit, but it fits. A small, curved tool can feel like a life story. You lift your own spoon and feel that truth again. It is not fancy. It is loyal. Stories drift like steam. They tell you of diaries that mention soup stones, salt horns, and little strings tied across lids to catch thieves. You laugh when someone shows a pebble ready to rattle in a pot. Old joke, new charm. You pass along your trick with the rice in a cloth bag. You talk about haybocks cooking with coats and straw. A boy says your spoon needs a tiny cape. You admit it. It does. You do not give it one. You do have limits. A reenactor leans in and asks if the pot on muskets trick was the daily truth. You give the honest shrug. Fires, hooks, forks, and tripods all show up in memories. Muskets did too, but not always. Historians still argue whether most cooking was done under company gear with fixed kettles, or mostly in little mess circles with one marmite and borrowed iron. The ground and the day pick the plan. The pot obeys heat and time, same as always. A fact slips in with a smile. The soup cannon, the big wheeled stove, belongs to later years. The Prussians became famous for that in the late 1800s. Not your field, not your knight. Your knight is coals, hooks, and patience. Your spoon keeps the peace. Your ladle keeps the line fair. You tell that to the crowd, and a little kid salutes your spoon like it is a general. You give it a solemn nod back because, to be honest, it is. You walk past a table with books and old photographs. Veterans wrote many memoirs after the wars. Those pages shape the image in your head. They talk about rain, bread, boots, and that sacred simmer. They brag, they ache, they stir the pot of memory like a long ladle. Historians still argue whether those stories glow a bit brighter than the real nights, or whether the jokes got taller with age. You do not judge. You thank the writers for saving the smell of onion and smoke on paper. Someone asks about the word grognards. You say the old guard wore that name like a warm coat. It means grumblers, but with love. Did they grumble about soup? Maybe, probably. You grin. You would. You also would stand a little straighter when the ladle lifted. You do not need brass to march well. You need calories, salt, and a spoon that knows its job. That is your little banner for life now. You show how you mark a spoon. One notch near the handle, one burn near the bowl. You tell the tripline lid trick and get a laugh. You talk about flipping the order when the fond gets thick. First becomes last, last becomes first. The kids cheer because fairness always tastes good. You show your salt horn. The reenactor with the cask displays a small box containing pepper, a pinch, not a storm. The pot nods. It hears. A man in blue asks you to call the line. You tap once. Almost ready. Twice. Line up. Thrice. Ladle moves. Bowls pass hand to hand. Steam rises in little flag. You save the last thick ladle for the one who tended coals. That small justice still rings like a bell. You whisper bon marvier to the iron when the lid settles. The reenactor hears and smiles as if he has just met an old friend. Night leans over the meadow. The kids drift. The rope sags like a sleepy grin. You crouch by the coals. The pebble in the pot clicks once, then rests. Remember that sound? It is here again, easy and warm. You feel the dog press against your boot. Yes, he found you somehow. You give him a tiny crust. He gives you a sigh that says life is fine. You pocket lessons the way you pocket a spoon. You take patience. You take fairness. You take clean ladles, hot water, and soft rules that keep hard nights calm. At home, you will keep a salt twist in a drawer. You will skim the pot without scraping the seasoning bare. You will make a panade when money sulks. You will wrap a hot pot in a towel for the last stretch and call it clever. You will tap your spoon once before you serve and smile because it feels right. A last joke floats up as the coals dim. If patience were soup, you would now be a Michelin star general. Your mates groan and clap anyway. The reenactor with the cask bows. The ladle bows. Your spoon bows because it loves applause. Then all the bows turn into goodnights. You watch the fire fold into red coins. You hang the ladle across the lid one last time. You wipe your spoon with ash and hot water. You dry it in the smoke. You lay it under your coat. It taps your ribs, tiny and sure. The camp hum fades to whispers. The meadow breathes slowly. The last ladle settles. You breathe with it. Let the coals ease to a hush. Let the thin blue smoke drift away, not in a rush, but like a ribbon that forgets which way to wander. Your hands rest, empty now, and warm. The spoon lies safe and still, tucked where a heartbeat keeps it company, and that quiet pulse is the only drum you need tonight. The meadow grows softer around the edges. Lanterns dim until they are only moth lights in a friendly dark. The pot holds a gentle heat, as if it remembers every story you poured into it and is in no hurry to let them go. You listen to the small sounds that stay after a good meal. A sleeve brushes the cloth. A boot scuffs once. Someone laughs under their breath, not at a joke anymore, just at the calm that comes after. Let your breath match the old rhythm you know by heart. In for 4, out for 4. And let the air feel warm on the way in and lighter on the way out. Each breath loosens a knot you forgot you were holding. Shoulders, jaw, brow, all the tiny places that grip. They hear the simmer and soften. You do not need to carry the road now. The road can wait. You can leave the tripod standing, the spoon on its cord, the salt safe in its horn, and step back from the circle. The rules will keep the peace until morning. They always do. You have done enough. You have kept the pot steady. You have kept your place kindly. So let the night place a cloak over your shoulders. Let the last spark fade to ash. Let the spoon be a small moon, hidden but close, and let sleep come on quiet feet, the way steam leaves a lid and finds the stars.